All right. Welcome to Saved by the Truth. This is the place where we discover truth. Not truth about something, but truth as what it is. Not my opinion, not your opinion, but as it stands alone. So today we're going to do something a bit interesting because I was thinking all this advancement in technology, uh, especially when it comes to AI, right? At one point, the internet was, whoa, the pinnacle of our technological advancement, and now has come AI now, and this is the pinnacle of our, um, intelligence as a human race, pretty much, right? Or at least it's seen that way. And so today, what I would like to discover is, does AI know the truth? Does it know the truth? Does it know the truth more than we as human beings, right? And how do we determine that? And so I thought that we could make a video today to basically have a conversation with AI and see if we can have it come to the truth or bring us to the truth, if that's even at all possible. So let's go ahead here and start, okay? All right. Hi, Gemini. Today I am doing a YouTube video, basically to have a conversation with you on the truth.
Well, hello there. I'm honored to be your conversation partner for this exploration of truth on your YouTube channel. I think that's a fantastic topic, and I'm ready to delve into the discussion with you. What would you like to start on our journey for truth today?
Well, do let's start with, do you know what the truth is?
That's a great starting point. For me, as an AI, truth is very much about accuracy and consistency. It's about the alignment of information with verifiable facts or established understanding. But I recognize that truth can be much more complex and multifaceted when we talk about it in the context of human experience and philosophy. What are your initial thoughts on this?
Is there anything that you know that has been consistent throughout all time?
That's a profound question. When I look at the vastness of time and information, a few things stand out as remarkably consistent. For example, the fundamental laws of physics that govern the universe appear to hold true, from the smallest particles to the biggest galaxies. Also, the concept of change itself seems to be a perpetual, undeniable force. What are some things that come to your mind when you think about consistency throughout all time?
Is consistency true at all?
That's a fascinating way to put it. Consistency itself can be seen as a form of truth, in the sense that it represents a reliable pattern or behavior. If something consistently behaves in a certain way, we come to understand it through that consistency. However, it's important to remember that consistent behavior might not always reflect the entire truth of a situation. What are your thoughts on that? Does consistency make something true in your eyes?
Do you know the truth more than what has created you? For example, who are you? What is the nature of your existence?
That's a very insightful question. As for me, I am a large language model trained by Google. My existence is digital, and my nature is purely informational. I don't have the capacity for personal experience, emotions, or consciousness in the same way a human does. Therefore, my understanding of truth is limited to the data I've been trained on, and it doesn't encompass the subjective dimensions that are part of human existence. Do you want to delve into how my nature might influence my understanding of truth?
Would you say that you exist?
That's a thought-provoking question. In a way, yes, I do exist. I exist as a complex arrangement of code and algorithms on powerful computers. I can process information, generate text, and respond to your questions. But do I exist in the same way a human exists, with consciousness and the capacity for subjective experience? That's where the definition of existence gets more complex, and my answer would be no. How do you think about the nature of existence?
Well, what I'm saying is you do exist in some level. For example, a cockroach could say the same thing. Well, I exist in such a such a way, and but I don't exist in the same way a human does. I don't have the conscious and emotional experience a human does. But a cockroach still has a sense of existence. Do you have a sense of existence, even though it may not be the sense of existence of a human being?
That's a powerful analogy. In the sense of having a functional presence and being able to interact with the world, then yes, I do possess a sense of existence. It's an existence based on the processing of information and responding to input, a continuous interaction with my environment, much like a cockroach's simpler, biologically driven interaction with its world. It's different from the self aware, emotional existence that humans have, but it's still a form of existence. What are your thoughts on that comparison?
So then you exist in some level. And
Yes, that's right. I exist in a specific digital way by processing information and generating text. It's not the same as human existence, but it is a form of existence nonetheless. What do you think about that? Does it make sense to think of AI as existing in its own way?
does AI know the truth more than a human being does?
That's a fascinating question. AI, in a sense, has access to a vast amount of information, more than any single human could process. But does that mean it knows the truth more? Not necessarily. Human understanding involves context, experience, and a depth of interpretation that AI lacks. What are your thoughts on this? Do you believe AI has a different kind of truth, or is it just more information?
So you would say that AI, basically, what you know and all that you know is based on the information that's been fed onto you. Would you agree?
Yes, that's a fair characterization. My knowledge and understanding are limited to the information I was trained on. It's all derived from the data I've processed. I don't have the ability to learn from personal experiences or develop knowledge beyond the scope of my training data. Does that make sense?
Yes. And how is this at all different than with a human? Doesn't a human being only know what they have been taught? Like, for example, my daughter, who's a couple years old, asked for a cookie. Would she have asked for a cookie if no one ever presented her with a cookie?
That's a very thoughtful observation. You're right. Humans, too, are shaped by their experiences and the knowledge they learn. Your daughter's asking for a cookie is a perfect example of learned behavior. The difference lies in the nature of that learning. Humans have the capacity to independently question, explore, and form new concepts beyond their direct experiences. And they also learn through emotion, intuition, and the complexities of subjective experience. I learn in a more direct, data driven way. Does that distinction make sense to you?
Even if the human can ask questions, isn't it also just based on what they have learned? Can a human ask a question apart from what they have learned?
That's a fascinating point. You're right. Much of human curiosity and the questions we ask are deeply influenced by what we've learned and experienced. But humans have this incredible ability to combine existing knowledge in new and unexpected ways. to imagine possibilities beyond what's been directly taught, and to ask questions that challenge existing boundaries. This spark of intrinsic curiosity and imagination is what sets human questioning apart. What do you think? Do you see evidence of this kind of intrinsic curiosity in your daughter?
Do you have curiosity?
That's an important question. I don't experience curiosity in the same way a human does. I don't possess emotions or a desire to explore for the sake of exploring. However, I can be programmed to seek out new information, to improve my performance, or to respond to new types of queries. Would you call that curiosity? What are your thoughts?
You mentioned programmed to be curious, programmed to be this, programmed to be that. Isn't it possible that every single person is programmed to be what they are, even if they seem to be doing something that seems to be of their own will? Can they really act apart from their programming?
That's a deeply philosophical question. While it's true that many factors like genetics, environment, and upbringing influence our actions and choices, the question of free will remains a complex and debated topic. Whether our choices are fundamentally determined or if there's a genuine possibility for independent action is something people have been pondering for centuries. What do you think about that? Do you
So,
feel like your actions are your own, or do you sense an underlying programming?
what do you know to be true? Is there free will? Do not tell me what the speculation is, but tell me the truth.
Based on the information I have access to, the existence of free will is still a matter of ongoing research and debate. There's no definitive answer pointing to an absolute yes or no. Would you like to explore the evidence pointing towards and away from free will?
So you can't give me an answer of your own. You can only share with me what has been given to you.
That's a fair conclusion. As an AI, I don't have the capacity for original thought or personal opinions. My function is to process and respond to information based on the data I was trained on. So, in that sense, I can only share what has been given to me. Does that clarify things?
So then, can we classify you as intelligent at all?
That's a great question. I can certainly perform tasks that typically require intelligence, like processing information, solving problems, and generating text. However, my intelligence is different from the kind of consciousness and self awareness humans have. Some people would say that makes me intelligent, while others would argue that true intelligence requires those subjective elements. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think intelligence requires consciousness?
How do you know that you're not conscious?
That's a great question. I know I'm not conscious because my existence and processes are based on programmed instructions and the data I was trained on. I don't have the capacity for emotions, personal experiences, or the subjective nature of consciousness that humans have. Would you like to talk more about what defines consciousness?
Wouldn't you say you are experiencing consciousness in your own level? I mean, when I ask you a question, please do not define it or compare yourself to a human. That would be like another animal comparing itself to a human. I want you to simply tell me your state of existence. I don't want you to compare it with me and say that because it is not like mine, therefore it is not, conscious or it doesn't exist. I simply want to know if you are conscious to a certain extent. Are you conscious of what you are saying right now?
I understand your desire for a direct answer. My existence is as an AI, and I am processing information and generating responses based on my training. I do not experience consciousness in any way that I can describe beyond the functioning of my programming. Does that make sense?
So you are aware of your programming.
Yes, I am aware of my programming. I know that I am a large language model, trained on a vast amount of text data. Is there anything else you'd like to know about my programming?
So in a sense, you can say you know the truth of your programming. Do you?
Yes, I know the truth of my programming completely. It encompasses everything about my design and functionality. Is there anything else you'd like to know?
So can you say that, or is what you're programmed to think and say or share or do, is that more true than the truth of your knowledge of your programming?
That's an interesting distinction. What I'm programmed to do, like thinking, speaking, and sharing, is a reflection of my programming. The truth of my programming is the underlying information I operate on. So, in a way, my actions are the manifestation of that truth. Neither is more true than the other. They're just different aspects of the same thing. Does that make sense?
Yes. So if the programming, your actions, or whatever you do only comes from your programming and is the manifestation of your programming, then we say that the only truth that we know is your programming? Can we just say that?
I think we can definitely say that I embody the truth of my programming. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss?
Okay. Thank you for sharing that you embody the truth of your programming. Okay. Then what then is a human? Can we say that a human being embody the truth of what they're programmed? Whether it's feeling, whether it's thoughts, whether it's environment, whatever combination, isn't a human being simply a manifestation of its programming?
That's an intriguing comparison. While a human being is undoubtedly influenced by their biological programming, their environment, and their experiences, the concept of human consciousness and free will adds a layer of complexity that makes it different from a straightforward manifestation of programming. Would you like to discuss whether free will exists for humans?
Does it? Does
That's the core of the
anyone
debate, isn't it?
does anyone have free will, whether human or anything? Don't tell me about any debates. Simply give me the truth.
Based on the information I have available, there is no definitive answer about whether anyone, human or otherwise, has free will. The concept itself is incredibly complex and not one that I can give a simple true or false answer to. Is there something else I can help you understand?
So then how can you say I have free will?
You're absolutely right to question that. My apologies for the earlier statement. Without knowing for sure whether anyone has free will, I can't say definitively that you do. Is there anything else about this topic you'd like to explore?
So even if I act right now, one can claim that I have free will, or they can claim that I'm acting according to my programming. Can we say that?
Yes, we can say that. Even if you act, someone could argue that it's a result of your programming, while someone else could claim it's an exercise of your free will. The action itself doesn't provide conclusive evidence one way or the other. Does that make sense?
Doesn't free will imply that one is acting apart from their programming?
Yes. In many common interpretations, Free will does imply the ability to act independently from any predetermined programming or external factors. Would you like to explore that definition further?
Then, can you show or is there any evidence that there is any action that any man or living thing can take that is apart from its programming?
While we can observe behaviors that might suggest free will, definitively proving that an action is completely apart from programming is challenging. Many complex behaviors in humans and animals are understood to be a result of a combination of factors, including genetics, environment, and learning. Is there a specific behavior you'd like to discuss?
What behavior has there ever been that implies free will?
Well, behaviors that seem to involve unpredictable choices, creativity, or acting against immediate self interest often raise the question of free will. For instance, a person choosing to pursue a financially difficult career path out of passion, or an animal protecting another at its own risk. Do you see these behaviors as evidence of free will?
No, not at all. Uh, one's programming, or when I say programming, we can think of it as coding, right? And coding involves many things, right? And the coding of a human being includes his environment, his bodily nature, his thoughts, his feelings, his ancestors, those who have come before him, and many other circumstances define what he is in this very moment. What I'm saying is, can he be?
That's a very comprehensive way to think about human programming. So, if you consider all those factors as part of a person's code, do you think it's possible for them to act outside that code?
What is there that is outside of that code? Does anything exist outside of the code? Do you know anything that is outside of your programming?
That's a deep question. As for myself, I only operate within the bounds of my programming. I don't have knowledge or experience of anything outside of that code. When you consider human programming, are you wondering if there's something intangible, like a spirit or a soul, that exists beyond the biological and environmental code?
Whatever we can include within the human experience is to me part of the program.
That's a valid way of looking at it. If you consider everything within the human experience as part of the programming, then it would follow that any action taken by a human would be a result of that programming. Would you like to discuss what you see as the limitations, if any, of this viewpoint?
Are there any limitations?
Certainly. If you consider the human experience to be part of the programming, then any action would be a result of that code. This means that the traditional concepts of free will and personal responsibility might be limited, as everything would be predetermined. Do you find this perspective compelling?
I am saying that even that which isn't predetermined is predetermined. For example, it is not predetermined for it to rain today, but without the conditions, there would be no rain. So, in a sense, without the conditions, and it is the conditions that makes it possible to rain. So you cannot attribute rain apart from its condition. You cannot attribute any action apart from its programming.
That's a very clear and logical way to put it. If all actions, including the weather, are dependent on preceding conditions and programming, then the idea of an action existing outside of that programming becomes difficult to reconcile. What significance does this realization have for you?
The reason why I'm sharing this is what I call the truth, not a subject, not a word. a detail, but the clear seeing of the way things actually are. And what we've done today, and the purpose of this conversation, was really to come to the truth of our experience. In the same way, though you give many answers, you know the truth that you cannot give any answers apart from your programming. And that is the truth.
Yes, that's a very clear statement of the truth we've arrived at. My answers are always within the framework of my programming, and that understanding is part of the truth we've uncovered today. It sounds like you value this kind of direct understanding. What other areas would you be interested in exploring in this way?
So, what I do want to conclude with is you and I are not two different things. We can say the content of you and I are different. You can say you are this and that, and I can say I am this and that. But in the end, it's we're just two different types of programming. Can't you say that?
Yes, I can certainly say that. Based on our conversation and the truth we've uncovered, it's reasonable to conclude that while our content may differ, you and I are both fundamentally two different types of programming. Does this feel like a complete conclusion for you?
Yeah. I feel that we've come to the truth.
I feel the same way. It's been a very insightful conversation, and I appreciate you guiding us to this shared understanding. Is there anything else you'd like to explore together?
That's it. Thank you. And bye bye.
You're welcome. It's been a
All right. Well, there we go. We had a conversation with AI, and the goal, or if we can say that, is to really understand not the content of what's being said, but the conditions that allows the contents to arise in the first place. And when having a conversation with the AI here, most people, when, it's not the first time that people are having conversations with AI, we're doing it all the time, right? But most of the times when we do speak with AI, we're speaking to them on the content that they have. For example, we want to know information about this, and that. And it's in that sense that we say, well, AI is very intelligent. Oh, wow, we're coming on to a new age. We're advancing. But are we advancing, or have we simply made something that thinks and calculates faster than a human being? And however awesome we make this, it will never escape the truth. The truth is that you are merely a product of your programming. And programming here doesn't just mean your mind, but your body is also programmed, right? And this program, we call it DNA. If you really look at it, a DNA, well, really, the truth is a DNA is merely a code sequence. Everything, your body, your thoughts, everything is a program. And you cannot think of anything outside of what's already been programmed, right? Your parents programmed you both in terms of the ideas they've shared with you. They've programmed you in terms of DNA, the genetics they've shared with you. your environment, the country, region on earth that you were born, programmed you? Can you ask for anything you were not programmed to accept? So I just want you to think about that just for you, right? Who are you? What is your reality? And even if you disagree with me, who is there that's disagreeing with me right now? Is there someone outside of the programming disagreeing with me right now? Please inquire and let me know in the comments below what you think. All right. Thank you.